Hi everybody, Brian from Bear Bull Traders here. It is the weekend, December the 4th, and this of course is the weekend video. We'll take a look at what happened last week, and we had an action-packed week as usual, seems like. And we'll take a look ahead, see what we got coming down the pipe this week. So let's get down to it. So as always, let's start out by looking at what happened last week. Of course, we had Powell's much anticipated speech on Wednesday. And he basically suggested that the pace of rate hikes is probably going to be slowing now as they wait to see what kind of impact their past rate hikes have had. And of course, that just set the markets into a buying frenzy. And I think there's almost a little bit of panic buying. Everybody concerned that they might get left behind, and not catching the bottom, and they just feel like it was almost a little bit of that going on. We may well have seen the bottom being put in here, as a lot of people are suggesting we may get a pullback in the new year, but I just feel like with the market being a forward-looking instrument, I think people are just really optimistic that rate hikes are going to be slowing and inflation is going to be cooling. So there won't be any significant pullback, as buyers will keep stepping in on pullbacks. Any pullbacks will get bought. So anyway, we did have a job growth number on Friday, and that was strong. So initially the market sold off pretty hard, but again, to my point, buyers quickly came back in and bought up the markets well, ending well off the low of the day. The Dow actually finished in the green despite that initial sell-off in the morning on the positive or strong job growth numbers and wage growth numbers as well. So indexes did finish up green on the week. As you can see right there, the Q's having the best of the bunch. And areas of strength and weakness, you can see here the discretionaries, consumer communication services were the biggest gainers, discretionaries being where people go when economies are good. Energy again finished slightly down on the week, sort of counterintuitive, because energy obviously is a sign of economic strength if it's strong, and people are suggesting by selling energy that maybe the economy is going to be weak. So anyway, having said that, the 2 years and the 10-year Treasury was down significantly. Again, on Powell's comments, the US dollar was of course down as well, because when rates drop on the dollar, so does the dollar strength. And Bitcoin still hanging around the 17,000 level. And before we start looking at some the charts here, let's take a quick break to take a look at my book on Amazon. There it is, Profiting as an Active Trader, available there. Money management rules, strategies, and routines of an active stock and option trader. So if you want to check that out, it's there on Amazon for you. So let's take a look at some charts here. And starting out, of course, with the treasuries, just like to keep an eye on those. And you can see here we did have a drop in the 2-year this week. Again, just based on Powell's comments, just the thought of them slowing the rate of hikes, it just sent these yields lower. And you can see here, again, the 10-year really just losing this upward momentum. This upward trend line breaking down there, back down to about 350 to this moving average. So again, this is again just optimism that that the Feds are going to slow the rate hikes. The lower 10-year may be indicating that recession, potential for a recession is coming still, so the rates will be lowered because of that as well. So anyway, the bond market again weakening up here, or at least strengthening up, and the yields are dropping. Transports on the week, pretty choppy week. We ended up a little just off the high, just off flat on the day. Again, we came off well off the low of the day on Friday with all that optimism that's in the market. And you can see transports were up a little bit on the week, but kind of stuck at this level here. The Dow, again, well off the low of the day on Friday. You can see there after that huge day on Wednesday, after the Fed comments. And you can see on the week here, big bottom and big V reversal here on the weekly. We are up into an area where there was a lot of buying and selling. You can see here on the Dow. So there's a lot of people potentially that are sort of stuck up here in this area and that bought up in this area, and now they're looking at their 401ks or investment accounts, whatever, and seeing they're almost back to break even here. So I'm suspecting that there's going to be some pretty significant resistance here around 35,000, a little bit of backing and filling there before we're going to push higher. But you can see here we had a pretty decent volume day, or decent volume week here, probably about average, I guess. Discounting last week because it was obviously a shortened trading week. The Qs, again, well off the low of the day here on Friday, big day on Wednesday, sort of ditto, and again, kind of breaking out here. We're at this moving average, the 20 week moving average here, and again, we could be pushing up higher. There's a whole lot of room here with a lot of less buyers and sellers in this area. So you can see here we could easily move back up through this area right up to this sort of 310 level. That could be some resistance at that point, but Q's looking good for a continuation move. Same comments on the SPY, well off the low of the day, big day Wednesday, and on the week. We are up to these to a moving average and sort of a trend line here, but more room to the upside, 420 there. Elon's favorite number, IWM, again, same comments on the daily chart. And you can see here we're sitting right at a level of prior resistance after we started to break down. So we are into an area here on the IWM that could be some area of resistance, but again, seems to be a lot of optimism in the market right now based on Fed Powell's comments, rightly so or not, and it looks good. The VIX, just as I said before, no fear in the market. We did have this little pop-up earlier in the week, but you know, they're just nothing, no fear at all that there's going to be a big sell-off. Really getting into some extremely low levels here. Let's just take a quick look on the weekly and see where we are in that. But you can see here, when we get these big moves down, often we do get counter moves. So maybe into the new year we might get a counter move. We might get some selling in the markets. But again, nothing to be too concerned of quite yet. The dollar is a daily chart on the dollar. Wow, it's just been getting slammed here as the other currencies strengthen up. Here we are on the weekly chart. You can see here we've really broken down on the dollar. Dollar will continue to be weak. Emerging markets, materials tend to be fairly strong. So that's good for that sector. And Bitcoin's been kind of hovering around 17,000. Yesterday it was down under it. Now it's just a bit above it. But a bit of a comeback here after the FTX issues. And again, just nobody's willing to buy, or no one's willing to sell, I guess, any further. And I think some of the big money is probably supporting it here so that they don't take huge losses. Anyway, that's my theory, as you probably heard me say before. So anyway, we are still in a downtrend on Bitcoin, but again, it seems to be holding at this level right now. So some stuff I'm watching next week for trades. Kind of thinking about maybe doing an options trade on Apple, because it just seems to be stuck in this range here. So sort of this, you know, we're down at this 140 level to 155 level area. So maybe sell some puts and then sell some calls, and put a little bit of a position on that way, and just, you know, basically assuming that we're going to stay in that trading range going into the end of the year. Where the RSI momentum indicator here is just flat. Same with MACD. We're really not doing much of anything in terms of moves, so could be a good trade there. Boeing, I mentioned last week. I do have a small position on Boeing now based on my last week's action. I did take a long on that, and long some now. It looks like it's breaking out here. Again, small position, but I think 190 is easily achievable, and maybe even 200 by the end of the year. Coin, just trading along with Bitcoin here. I don't like Bitcoin as an investment, but and that would mean I don't really like coin as an investment, but as a trade, maybe not a bad opportunity here. It does look like it's put in a bottom, and it seems like, I don't know, the news can't get much worse for Bitcoin than some of the stuff that's been coming across the wire, and it seems to be holding. So I think maybe coin could be good for a bounce here, and again could trade it up to even sort of this 55 level. So I'll be looking at that next week. CRM, same sort of story, big sell-off on these earnings last week. This area 140 seems to be a bottom, so maybe an opportunity to sell some puts there, and just collect the premium and see if it goes higher. Flex, I did take a position on this. As I mentioned in my last week's video, I've been watching this one as well. Said it was breaking out, was looking for this pullback here to the point where it broke out from, and Wednesday was obviously a big day for Flex. GDX, again, I'm long GDX based on dollar weakness. Mentioned that in the last week's video. Did take a long position on gold. So we've had a nice little breakout here on gold, so I'm long some of that. TNA, I'm just kind of watching. Let's see if we can break out here. We're right at an area where we could break out. Tesla again, one of these sort of stuck in a range trades, but looks like it might be heading to 200. I did sell a couple of 190 puts last week, so I'm essentially long Tesla, or at least potential. Well, certainly don't want Tesla to go down. I want it to go up so those puts expire worthless. URA, again, I'm still in this uranium trade. XLE, I'm looking at XLE. It's looking a little weak. It's finally starting to roll over. Oil is already sold off significantly. There is an OPEC meeting, I think, on the weekend here to discuss possible more cuts in production. If oil spikes up a little bit, these will probably spike up. Might be a good short, because after production cuts, announcement of production cuts, there's an initial reaction. Price goes up and then it sells off again. So we'll be watching that. Yeti's an interesting trade here. I'm just looking at this one. It's put in a bit of a cup and handle here, and we're breaking out basically. Could go higher, could be up to 50s, into the 50s. Watching that one for Monday. I don't have a position in that yet. So that's it, everybody. So just wrapping things up here for the week of December the 5th, looking ahead. You can see some of the levels I've identified where we are now, some support and resistance levels that I think are relevant. And for economic events coming up this week, we do have consumer credit number coming out at 3 p.m. on Wednesday. Friday, there's a PPI number, producer price index at 8:30, and the consumer sentiment number at 10. Might see a bit of a move there after that's reported. You won't see anything from the Fed. This is kind of economic non-event. There is the quiet period before the December 3rd and 13th and 14th meeting, so you won't hear any speeches from them. And here's the earnings we got. We do have some interesting earnings coming up here this week. We do have, of course, the always entertaining GameStop, C3, AI, and Thursday afternoon is going to be entertaining. We've got Costco, Lulu, Docu, Broadcom, and Chewy, some popular stocks that a lot of people watch. So that should be interesting. Anyway, I see the market continuing to be positive. Investor sentiment is looking optimistic, even though you could argue that they shouldn't be. But I think that's sort of the feel in the market right now. So that's it. Hope you have a great weekend, or had a great weekend, and we'll look forward to seeing you 8 o'clock Monday morning live on YouTube, Engineering the Markets, and then the pre-market show followed by our 9:30 Trading the Market Open with our members. Hope to see you all there. Have a great rest of the weekend, everybody. Bye for now.